respected MD sir and UNESCO Bioethics wing, students wing, our residents, students. Today we will be discussing about the respecting cultural diversity in the term of cultural competence in oral health as well as other healthcare system as a professional by respecting the cultural diversity. So there should be the culturally diverse population. Our country is very rich in the cultural diversity. So there is a requirement of the provider-patient communication and oral health literacy program. We often deal with the multicultural patient population in our setup. Sorry for that. Okay. So we should be able to deal with the cultural diversity and take into consideration our several cultural specificity as stated previously as a cultural ecosystem. There is actually the cultural ecosystem and there should be cultural cohesion between the different culture takes place in our country. The objectives of the session will be understanding the cultural competency and to explain the rationale for cultural sensitivity in the oral healthcare setting, and to understand the importance of effective cross-cultural communication in the oral healthcare system, and understand few barriers for the optimal oral health and the culturally sensitive strategies to prevent the attitude, to promote the attitude of the improved oral health practice in our country. So the cultural perception of the oral health can be understood by the demographic diversity, poverty, barriers to the utilization of health messages and the equitable access. So what is a culturally competence task force? So the UNESCO considers cultural diversity as a common heritage of humanity. So therefore it should be recognized and safeguarded for the benefit of patient and the future generations. So we should be sensitive, aware about different cultural diversities. We should obtain the knowledge about different sectors of society and their strength, skills and the competence enough to deal with the population. So this is the present scenario of the country. It means the older population of, it is actually the older population, number of older population is increasing globally, but in the perspective of country, the elderly population growth rate is around 3.49%. That is higher than the annual population growth rate of 2.3%. But what is happening is, nowadays, the children are moving far away for the education or for the profession or job opportunities. So the elderly populations are actually, there are enough evidence that the older population in Nepal are dissatisfied with that living apart from their children, because there is a certain change in the social structure, social cultural structure they have been following since the generations. So this diversity should also be understood and addressed because during the patient treatment. And another major barrier for the dental care is the cost of treatment, because our country invests very less in the oral health treatment policies. They invest less. So this is one of the barrier for the determinant of the oral health disparity. Similarly, barriers to utilization of health message. So there is always a language disparity. So it is said that we should often use the open-ended question. Okay? If you ask the question in the closed-ended question, they will not understand what you are talking, what you are asking, or what you are trying to infer. They can say yes or no. Even if they are, so there is a lack of communication between the patient and the professionals. So the open-ended question must be encouraged, and actually non-verbal communication and your behavior will be more important during this communication or utilization or dissemination of the health message. For example, sometimes some messages may be misleading. The example are OK sign, like this OK sign. In the United States, it is in OK sign in the United States, and this means money in the Japanese culture, and nothing or zero in the France, Zimbabwe, and Argentina, and it signifies the body or vision Eastern European cultures. So similarly, there are some sign or non-verbal communication may be misleading, or sometimes similarly the thumbs up sign, that is vulgar in Iranian culture, and the use of forefinger to point is viewed as rude in Chinese culture. Similarly, the use of the left hand in the Middle Eastern and African culture is seen as unclean and only used to personal hygiene and never used to handshake and present gifts. So the understanding of the culture will give better understanding and better bonding and with the doctor-patient relationship. So another is gender. So some women prefer to see by a female healthcare provider rather than a male. So the better and safer outcomes, there are several studies, they say that for those women, better and safer outcomes may be achieved for some patients if they are able to consult or treated by a practitioner of the same gender. So if whenever possible, we should try to offer them different options of the male and female. If it is not possible, we should understand what are the barriers and we should try to explain in the detail so that why it is essential, maybe the male can be handle the situation. So one of the oral health problem that is seen on the one research, that African American males that are diagnosed with oral cancer at a very late point and which is leading to the high mortality rate. This was a study conducted in the United States, and the reasons for that is there are complaints with treatment regimens, which attributed to cultural mismatch between the minority patient and their providers. So our country is also very diverse cultural diversity. Okay? So there can be such scenario can also take place. Maybe it is going on our practice. And secondly, according to Ayer study of the Washington DC, it includes that provider bias or prejudice against the minorities was seen for this cause. And a third factor related to the treatment differences. So the less competent workforce or less competent medical professionals may lead to the treatment differences because of the different variables and the different context and system variables in the cultural diversity. If they don't understand, then the universal equitable access to healthcare may be jeopardized. Similar scenario, there are British Gorkha soldiers. So in the dentistry, actually they came and for the restoration, and when they are going for the selection of the British Gorkha army, they need the composite restoration, that is white tooth color restoration for their teeth. If we don't understand, then we can do the other restoration, and when they go for the British recruiting, they will be removed from the selection. So we should understand and we should offer them different modality of treatment. We should inquire if you are opting for the British Army or not. Actually, we are trained in that scenario, and even if young patient comes to our department or in our dental setup, we always inquire if either you are opting for the British Army or not. So these are the amalgam restoration in the left hand, and right hand there are composite filling restoration with tooth color restoration. Similarly, during the Ramadan in the Muslim community, they are not allowed to put anything or water in their mouth. So while doing the oral health care, we have to use the oral any devices in mouth and use of water inside. So either we should explain. If we don't explain, we should not. If we don't understand their cultural barriers or cultural prerequisites, then it will be difficult, and there will be the mismatch or disharmony with the patient. So we should explain them that this is essential, or either you postpone the situation, or but if in the emergency situation, we have to deal with it. And similarly, the history of pregnancy, which is important for the medication, they often don't give the history to the male doctors. So we should take the help of our female colleagues in this scenario. Actually, there are no easy answer in our troubled world. All the efforts of health requires the providers and the individuals, families and communities. They sought to develop greater cultural humility in the relationship. So that developing cultural competency is not a destination, it is a lifelong process. So every encounter is a cross-cultural encounter. Actually now the different cultural harmony, different cultural diversity, very close range of our geographical location, there are now hybrid or cross-cultural situation occur. Similarly, this is one of the region in the Dantemura, in the Kathmandu, and they say that if we stick that point to this thing, then there will the toothache will be relieved. And so in this situation, what to do? I would like to ask maybe our postgraduate residents in this situation, if patient firmly believes, either we deny their cultural belief or how should we address in this situation? Can you explain please?
We should respect their belief, and at the same time we should also inform them that not only doing this, beside this we should go for the regular dental treatment. Explain them.
Okay, we should believe in their culture. We should not disrespect their culture. That they have the belief that if we stick the going there, their dental pain will go away. And at the same time, we should explain them that besides doing this, we should go for the regular dental treatment as well.
Okay, thank you. So the message is that we should not directly deny, we should not oppose that you are doing wrong thing. Actually, it is not going to do the situation that it is not going to relieve the tooth pain. But their belief system is such a form that if we argue with them, they may regard it as an insult to their culture. So we should respect them, and we should say that you can believe in your system, but there are the ways, different ways in which the correct ways, and regular dental visit and other treatment, proper treatment, scientific modalities will help to address your problem. So nowadays the child sometimes it is regarded as a childlike dependence and depersonalized conditions for the consumer. Now we are doing the business in our there are the booming of the business in the business industry in the medical and dental sectors. So they promote in the healthcare delivery such that to the customers. So now cosmetic dental care, now there is a trend. This slide shows the trend about the modernization of culture by the media and the industries. So they promote that, okay, the ultimate goal is the whitening of the tooth. Rather than treatment, just make your treatment white, use our toothpaste, use our product, you don't have to go to dental clinics, just white. And this is now the new cultural, that is the modernization of culture done by the media and the business companies. So they may often be misleading, and we should understand that modernization of the cultural diversity also that's taken by the. So this is increasing at an alarming rate. So like that, make your teeth white. Don't bother about the oral health. So there are some of the cultural beliefs and taboos in dentistry. Okay, there have been some extraction of upper teeth affects eyesight, or cleaning up with fingers better than brush, like that. So if we don't understand the cultural diversity of the people, then they will listen to you, but they will not believe to you. So to make them believe and understand and to follow the course of instruction, you need to communicate them within their understanding. And this is one of the case scenario in the around the hilly part of eastern Nepal. And what they believe is during the pregnancy, brushing the teeth is a bad thing. It should not be followed. That's a taboo. And they eat you know what is this? This is jaggery rice. Good or something like that, and rice. This is sticky form of carbohydrate. So they eat that and don't brush for all during the pregnancy period, because they say that it's taboo to brush. So due to this is one of the situation of the patient. So even if we deliver the healthcare information to them, so you have to brush, they will listen to you, but they will not believe because of the cultural barriers. So there are few among the several examples in which there is difficulty. Okay, there's all work is not done by just delivering just making the flex and just delivering. So we should have such a personal, or we should understand, or we should maybe some mediators who should culturally close to them, and so that they understand and follow the due course of action. So the take-home message is: examine your values, beliefs and assumptions, re-examine it, redefine it, and reframe your thinking. Every time, because the culture, there are mixed cultures and there are cross culture, there are hybrid culture. Now the foreign culture influencing our culture. So they are not in the static, they are dynamic. So we should always try to re-examine, reframing, and the other world given perspective should be taken into account. And familiarize your core cultural elements and communities you serve. So they share the ideas with the patient and ask the patient to share their ideas about understanding and treatment. Then you will understand whatever you are saying, either the patient is understanding the same thing or not. Maybe he or she or they are understanding in a different way. So if they explain about this, whatever you have explained or explained this and treatment course, then you may sometimes find out, oh, they are understanding in a very wrong manner. Okay? So and always create a welcoming environment that reflects the diverse communities you serve. So the conclusion is, yesterday Ramesh Saran we are talking about the risk factors and the risk makers in our country. Actually, the poverty and illiteracy are risk factors with poor treatment or any cultural diverse society. But these race and ethnicity, they are the strength. But we are some misleading due to maybe political agenda or some. They are regarded as risk makers in our country. So they are not the risk makers. Where we are using the cultural diversity as conflict between the cultures and the race and ethnicity and providing the risk makers. So actually, they are not the risk makers. We have to rethink and we have to promote, to propagate, and in this manner that they are the opportunities, not the threat. They are the great opportunity for the human understanding. Whatever we understand, whatever we are, is due to language and the cultural diversity. So our knowledge and understanding of the world is primarily set up by the language and the cultural diversity. So they are the biggest opportunity to mankind. So with a note of hope and anticipation and the words of the William Osler, it is important to know that what sort of patient has a disease than a sort of disease a patient has. I think you will try to address this problem and incorporate the cultural diversity in our day-to-day practice and our in modern practice. And I guess I am confident that the professionals our main objective is, as we go from here, our professional that is new workforce in the health science will have the more ethical approach in the understanding the cultural diversity and several other issues, the cultural issue and diversity, bioethical issue in our workplace. Thank you.